On your programs, you see that Peter Frey is now scheduled to give some closing remarks. The problem is that due to the political situation in Germany, he had to make many phone calls today and yesterday, and he asked us to release him from this obligation for today. But then actually we found a great alternative, and I'm very grateful to Elisabeth Niejahr from the ZEIT, who is one of Germany's most prominent and political correspondents in Berlin, and who yesterday already moderated the Euro Crisis panel, and she jumped in for him on short notice. So thank you very much to you, Elisabeth, and I think that's worth an extra applause. And she told me that she learned from Jeremy Rifkin that it looks very dynamic not to wear a jacket. So the German answer to Jeremy Rifkin, Elisabeth Niejahr. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Roman, for this nice introduction. I guess what I can tell you now will be a little improvised, as I was, as you said, asked to jump in for Peter Frey, but I can understand the situation really well, because the only reason why my paper let me sneak away from the office this week was that I kept telling them that nothing would happen in German politics because we have this carnival weekend now. And so now, well, we don't have a president anymore, and I wonder what it will be like going back to the office next week. I guess there are 3 points that I would like to make about what I've learned during the last 2 days. The first one being that before I got here, I thought this would be an event that should give Americans and maybe representatives of other countries a better understanding of what Germans or Germany is like nowadays and who we are, which, by the way, I think is a job that has to be done. But having been here for the last 2 days, I have a slightly different feeling. I think it has also been a conference where a lot of Germans have been trying to learn about themselves. I found that there were a lot of panels where people were really listening to each other and trying to learn from each other, which is not always the course, I can tell you, because I'm moderating quite a few panels in Germany. And I think here everybody had a kind of a feeling, there was a common feeling that something important is going on and that things are changing in Germany. We have talked a lot about the wish for Germans to lead, and also a new way we look at ourselves, a new pride maybe, as Ronald Heifetz has said. And I think there's really some truth in that. There's things going on maybe we haven't really understood fully so far, like recent polls saying that Germany is out of a selection of 20 countries that is liked best by an international survey. A recent poll from the OECD about language skills telling us that among other countries in Europe, Germans really speak the best English by now, not just academics, but a broad range. I may not be the best example of that, but also I was thinking of a very good piece that was published by The Standard a few days ago by Christopher Caldwell, who talked, he wrote about this, the topic of this conference about German leadership and the Angst of leadership. And he mentioned the fact that when you go to Germany to a soccer stadium, and he's been there many times and many years ago, all of a sudden everybody knows the national anthem, and what does it tell us? So I think there are a lot of changes going on. And I really like what Karl Kaiser said about leadership as a learning process and Germany being an adolescent leader. To be honest, Karl, I was one of your students many years ago in Cologne University, and at that stage I did not really always agree to what you told us. But having been here at the Center for European Studies last year for 4 months as a visiting fellow, I was really, I really liked how you represent our country, and I really agree on everything you say about Germany here today. And I may add that maybe, it's really also my feeling that we are not there yet, but maybe I can add the thought that this is not really bad. I like that kind of. I think it's not a position to deal with the rest, bad position. It's not a bad position to deal with the rest of the world, with China, for instance, who the Americans, I find, are so upset and confused and obsessed with a lot of dimensions of Chinese politics. And when I saw Angela Merkel dealing with the Chinese on her latest visit to China, I felt like, well, we have some things in common. We know what it's like to be an economic giant and a political dwarf, and to be, reflect on how this is changing. And despite all the obvious differences, a person like Angela Merkel knows how to deal with representatives of a communist party and all that. So it may not be the worst position to be in. The second point I would like to make is about leadership. I think that's something that was a point that was made on the different panels, maybe because not everybody has listened to every panel, not everybody is aware of that, but I think it came up in almost every discussion that we should not be confused with criticism by the difference of criticism of leadership and bad leadership. A lot of people who criticize Germany these days just don't like the way we do. They criticize bad leadership, and some of us, sometimes they also criticize that we have used bad excuses for not leading, for instance, in security matters. So this is something that should be carefully looked at. The third thing I'd like to say is just about this conference as a whole and the way it was organized. I think we cannot really praise the people enough who have done this, who've made this event possible. To be honest, I really liked, I think everybody should give them a big applause. To be honest, I really liked the way some of them were, hesitant here or there, just because it reminds us that this has been a students' event. They are not professionals doing this all the time, even though it felt like that most of the time. And I think in this conference, you really showed all the good and bad, the best sides of Germany, what Germany can be like, In a way, you lived up to the cliche of being, efficient and punctual and mostly on time and all that. But also, I think you showed that Germans the panels showed, and you've done a great deal of work to make these panels the way they were. You put a lot of effort into finding the right people and briefing them and all that. And I think it's also due to your preparation that there was also a lot of humor in the room and a sense of irony, and even an ability to party last night. And so maybe you could maybe that's the only point I have to make, that you can extend maybe the next time. Maybe you should even make more of the fact that this is a students' event. I felt that with matters like the European crisis or the Euro crisis, or also the debates about the German military, I'm as curious to learn about what the people in their late 20s or early 30s think about this as others who have been on the panel. Actually, I think we know quite well what the generation of Wolfgang Schäuble or Kurt Biedenkopf says about Europe and how they feel. And it's so much more, maybe not more, but also interesting to understand why the students of today don't really speak up in this matter, and what you think about this. So maybe, you should have less angst of participation and that, I don't really want to end this brief remark with a criticism. So I would, I just hope you can, we didn't exhaust you too much here, the audience and the panelists, so that you can celebrate what you did a little tonight. And, I think we should give all of you another extra applause.
Thanks to Elisabeth for taking the time and jumping in. There are moments like this when I come to regret not taking the class on public speaking last semester, but I'll give it a go. So what's left to say? Besides for thank you all for participating. Thank you again to our volunteers who put in their time. Thank you to my team who put a hell lot of time into this. We all suffered a lot. Some of us slept only 3 hours in the past few days. And our grades certainly suffered, but I think looking how it all came together, oh yes, they did. Seeing how it all came together, we're really happy and we're really proud of what we all brought together here. So I think that's it. Two final things. If you have evaluation, the evaluations, we're going to pick them up at the front. If you have your badges, we would be happy to get them back. We have boxes to the left, to the right. Come and approach us if you have some final thoughts, but there is not more to say then. See you next year. Take care.